Jury selection in former President Donald Trump's New York City criminal hush money trial has finally concluded, with all 18 New Yorkers now sat on the jury. The 12 main jurors, the 6 alternates, all ready to go. And that caps off a week where multiple selected jurors either ended up removing themselves from the jury or were removed, either because they revealed information about themselves that had previously been inaccurately stated, or they felt the pressure was simply too great. And even earlier today, while the final ones were being selected, some of them literally broke down in court over the anxiety they were feeling about whether they could be impartial in this case. With one woman breaking down while talking about having served prison time in another state, later said she felt people should be held accountable for their actions, quote, because that's what I went through. Another was overcome with emotion as she answered basic questions in the jury box, saying, "This is so much more stressful than I thought it would be." Both of them were excused. Now, it took 1 week to finalize this jury, but bear in mind, everyone said it was gonna be incredibly difficult to do so. And most did not think that it would be able to be done in 1 week, but it's now done. And on Monday, we're going to have opening arguments from both the prosecution and the defense. We were already into this thing. It seems fast, but for Donald Trump, it's still taking too long. He truthed, "This trial is a long, rigged endurance contest dealing with nasty, crooked people who want to destroy our country, MAGA 2024. So it's taking too long, it takes great endurance. That's why he takes so many preemptive naps. Or does he think that it's really long? Because 4 minutes after putting that on Truth Social, he said, "Judge Merchant is railroading me at breakneck speed in order to completely satisfy his friends." I guess they're not real friends. "Additionally, he has gagged me." And I don't care about the rest of that, but so is it taking too long and it's a marathon, or is this thing happening like a sprint? Which is it? Which way are you whining about this case now? Seemingly all of them. It's taking too long and it's going way too fast. By the way, while he's complaining in a variety of different ways, earlier today, another one of his attempts to get the trial moved out of Manhattan was shot down. That makes 40, I think. The thing is going to continue. It's gonna continue in Manhattan, and that's what's important.
Pausing here to deliver some honest truth, as we do in our news coverage as well. TYT is facing challenges, guys, as the entire industry is. You know who could make the difference? You. If you hit the join button below, it's gonna make all the difference and keep us in business. We appreciate you, thank you.
And look, we have our jury now. We'll see what the quality of the jury is. But before we discuss, I do want to point out one thing, which is that, as I alluded to, there were people who had been on the jury that were taken off. And one of those women ended up taking herself off because of the fact that so many people were focusing on her, discussing her, revealing information about her, most notably perhaps Jesse Waters. And as a result of that, the judge actually admonished the media and told them to stop attacking or stop reporting on so many of the details of the jurors. And of course, as you saw in that picture, he immediately went on the air that night to continue doing the same thing. Once again, going on an extended monologue about how every one of the very minor bits of information, the trivia we had about these people, immediately made them suspect. And so we're not gonna play the video of him actually doing that. But just bear in mind that his audience, the audience on Fox News, are all convinced that this thing is going to be rigged, not just in the ways they already thought it was, but in terms of the jury as well. So with that said, what do you think?
Yeah, so far so good. I think that the judge and the lawyers are both doing a good job. I don't think the Trump lawyers have asked anything outrageous. They're doing normal voir dire where you're trying to pick the jurors that are most favorable to your client. Prosecutors are doing the same thing. And asking about people's backgrounds is perfectly understandable in this case. For example, they found out that one guy had put up on social media that Trump was the devil. Probably don't have him on the jury, okay? So, and that's not him trying to infiltrate the jury. He was just one of the jurors that they called up, and they're like, "Okay, so what do you think?" He's like, "Well, I think Trump's the devil." Okay, well, there you go, off you go, right? And another guy said, "Well, you know, I disagree with Trump a couple times, but otherwise he's awesome." Also, there you go, out you go, okay? So, and that makes sense, guys. That's how you're trying to pick as unbiased a jury as you can. Look, and we're gonna get to the guy who lit himself on fire. Luckily, not one of the jurors, okay? But we'll get to that in a sec. But I am curious what you guys think. I mean, where's the line, right? Because is it if you voted for Trump, you can't be on the jury? And I know they're not asking about who you voted for. Or if you support Trump, you can't be on the jury. Or if you voted against him or you don't support him, you can't be on the jury. Or only non-political people. And it just, I don't know. I think it's very, very hard to draw the lines. I think they're doing the best they can. By the way, there's like a couple of lawyers, a couple of therapists, and a couple of engineers on the jury. 7 men, 5 women, and then there's 6 alternates as well. But so far from what I have read, all is good on the Western Front, or on the Eastern Front in this case. Well, I'll mention one other funny thing though. Trump's in one of his rants. I'd like to do it in John's voice. I'll do it in mine, in my Trump imitation voice. He's like, "Why is this Trump? This rigged trial happening in New York and not in Pennsylvania or North Carolina?" Because your business is based in New York, and that's where you did the fraud. You didn't do it in North Carolina. You did it in New York. He's amazing, man. He still doesn't get that. He's really one of the. I mean, look, there's no other way to say it. He's one of the dumbest people I've ever seen in public life. Okay, Francesca, what do you think?
No, I mean, first of all, I love that your Trump impression is just Alec Baldwin's doing Trump, and John's is just Stephen Colbert doing Trump. It really is like
totally.
Nobody's got anything unique to offer like me. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say
different. I like it.
No, but look, this is truly. Could Trump be elected dog catcher in New York, in Manhattan? And I think that's fascinating because the answer might be yes. Because here you have a swath of clearly 18 people who've been in a coma for the last 8 years, right? Which is incredible. Like imagine, so there's that, right? Like how is he gonna fare in Manhattan? And he knows people hate him there generally. But the other part of it is also like, who is impartial about Donald Trump? Like who has been paying at all, even cursory attention to the last 8 years and been going like, I'm normal. Nobody. So these people, here's the way I see it. I think these people are masterful at concealing their passion either one way or another, or they truly are living in a bubble and have just woken up from a coma, in which case I want their brain and I love that. But I think it takes so much not wherewithal, but bravery. You're sitting in the same in the same room as Donald Trump. You're judging him. Like that is terrifying. He's staring each and every one of these jurors down. I don't think we fully grasp just how unprecedented and wild and difficult it is going to be on this jury.
Yeah, and if that does intimidate you, just speak in a low voice. He'll fall asleep sooner or later, and then you can go right back to judging him. He won't even know. Look,
but the minute you mention his name, he'll wake up like Rumpelstiltskin, so Trumpelstiltskin is what I was trying to spit out.
There you go.
Yes.
So look, I agree. It is hard to imagine, it's hard to conceive of a person who doesn't have an opinion one way or the other, and yet has the mental faculties to sit through and judge a trial like this. That said, we'll see who they got. I mean, I know. What's interesting to me is less the question of can they be impartial, and for me, and I know maybe sometimes we veer too much into media criticism, is what people actually want them to be impartial, because everybody's implying they want impartiality. Okay, and maybe questioning whether they will be, but stating that they want it. I don't think everyone wants that at all, and I think with good cause. Jesse Waters has no interest in an impartial jury. And he's been fairly clear about that in his videos talking about this. When the most political thing a person says is, that I want to weigh the evidence or whatever, he is suspicious of that because he doesn't want an impartial jury. He is only comfortable with those who would never under any circumstances convict Donald Trump. And the reason for that is I am afforded the luxury of being perfectly comfortable having no one who's like a super big Biden fan or hates Donald Trump's guts, because I am confident that the case that they'll make and the evidence they will present will be really bad for Donald Trump. That satisfies me. On the other hand, they also know that that evidence is going to be damning of Donald Trump. And that's why they're not relying on the legal team or anything like that. They've been fairly clear. Clay Travis has said it. We need a saboteur. We need a sleeper cell. They clearly think that's the only answer to any of this.
Yeah, I actually want to say, because they're asking them what kind of media they consume. So for example, a foreman watches MSNBC and Fox and reads the New York Times. Interesting. So I don't know what that says about him. Maybe he's unbiased. Hey, and I bet you a lot of people who are against Trump are like, oh no, he watches Fox News too, he must be a bad guy. And a lot of Trump people are like, oh no, he watches MSNBC too, he must be a bad guy. Hold on. So, but if anybody on the jury watches Young Turks and is a TYT infiltrator for us, I do have a mission for you. Are you ready? Your mission is to be fair. So listen to the evidence, don't prejudge Trump, and you're not trying Trump as a human being. You're trying him for these crimes. And listen to the evidence, and if it turns out he's guilty, convict him. If it turns out you're not sure and it's not beyond a reasonable doubt, don't convict him. Just be fair. Boom, we got infiltrators now.
You know what, I want to add myself onto that as well. I agree, do that.
This guy.
No, but really, I'm actually comfortable with an impartial process.
You know what though? I think it's, it reminds me of jury trials when the person sitting, the defendant is a cop. And we all know it's very difficult to actually get a jury conviction of a police officer because by and large, no matter whether even people who have had negative encounters with police officers generally are respect law enforcement, or at least want to, right? Like that's their goal, it's aspirational. So I actually, I don't wanna play crystal ball here and be like, all right, what's gonna happen? But I think it'll be very difficult to get a conviction because he's a former president, because it is so difficult to get a group of people to go against, it feels like, and what the right wants you to believe, it going against the office of president, and how it often works out with cops who have killed innocent people, who have brutalized them. It might work out for Trump in that way too. I'm just putting that out there.
And I will also, and I'll close with this because I know we have to get on this other angle. If you are concerned about it being an unfair process in that the evidence will be irrelevant, the arguments will be irrelevant, the witnesses will be irrelevant. It's just gonna come down to one side got their person on or the other side got their person on. You need to bear in mind that is not an even playing field. Because for that to work for the prosecution, they need to get 12 of their people on. The defense only needs to get one of their people on. One MAGA person who would refuse under any circumstances, one MAGA person who would watch Donald Trump choke their wife to death and then let them walk free. That sort of person, you only need one of those. The defense, if they're gonna swing this thing with no case, they need a full dozen. And everybody's acting like this is an even thing. It is anything but.
That's a great point.
Thank you, I try to make one or two of those a day.